For people, welcome once again to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made this kaftan shirt for a 4 years old 7 years old boy. Sorry, these are the materials you'll be needing, so pause the video and watch and take note of the material. So it's going to have like a zip at the shoulder area, and I designed the sleeve and the hem area with the stone. So let's get straight to the tutorial. So these are the measurements. Remember, the head of children is to be bigger than their body. So once you take their shoulder to shoulder, add 2 inches to the shoulder to shoulder. Let me say the shoulder to shoulder is 12. Fold your fabric using the biggest part of the body, which is the hip. Then you add 2 or 3 inches allowance. So for the length, the front is longer than the back. Sorry, the back is longer than the front. So for the front, I use 26 inches length. Then for the back, I'm going to add 4 inches to that. It's going to give me 30 inches. So I'm just going to mark like so. This is the front of the kaftan, 26 inches length. So I'll mark and then I'll cut it out. So I'm just reconfirming to be sure of the width before I'll cut. Remember, your fabric will be on fold because you are cutting the front. Fabric will be on fold. Then I'm going to cut that out. So next is to cut the back. This is the back, the same width I use for the front. I'm just going to cut that out. So after cutting, this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to place the front on top of the back, so the back is down while the front will be on top of it. So I'm just going to make sure it aligns on all edges except for the down part. Remember, the back is longer than the front by 4 inches, so it will be looking longer. So take note of that. So I'm just going to mark like so, arrange it very well before I cut. So to slant the shoulder, I'm going to be using 2.5 inches for the shoulder slant. You can use 2 inches, but I'm using 2.5 inches to shoulder slant the top. So I'm just going to connect it to the neck like so. So I went down by 2.5 inches and I'll connect it to the edge like so, then use my roller to connect. Then I'm going to cut this out. So I'm just going to cut like so. Then I'll drag the front to be equal to the back at the down area. So the front will now be like this. So you can see the front of the back is longer than the front of the front. So I'll go down at the front part, just the front top. I'll go down by 1 inches so I can lap the back on top of the front. So I'll carry the back and place on top of the front, then iron it like so. Then next is for us to start taking our measurements. So here you take your shoulder to shoulder, which is 14 divided by 2. Then I'm going to add sewing allowance of ½ inches, the same way you cut for adults, the same way you cut for children, except for their shoulder to shoulder, which is big and the size. So for my armhole, I'm going to be using my shoulder to shoulder, which is 7 inches. So I'm just going to mark like so, or you can use your round bicep divided by 4, your round bicep, sorry, divided by 2. Then you add 1.5 inches, or you can just use your shoulder to shoulder as your armhole. Then next, for me to find the midpoints of that armhole, then I'll go in by 1 inches so I can create my armhole curve. So I'm just going to mark the lines like so. I mark the lines like so. So that point that I found the midpoint of the armhole, I'll go in by 1 inches, then divide that 1 inches by half. So half will be for the front, while the other half will be for the back. Remember, the back, the front armhole is deeper than the back. So next, for me to take my chest measurement, so I'll divide my chest by 4. Then add 2 inches sewing allowance to that, so I can create my armhole curve. So I'm going to mark that, and then next is for me to take from my shoulder to my tummy. You know, some children have big tummy, while some have flat tummy. So for my shoulder to my tummy area is 13 inches. So I'm just going to mark that. Then from the end points, I'll go up by 2 inches. Then from the 2 inches, I'll go up by 5 inches, which will be for the vents, that's for the side slits for the kaftan. So I'll divide my tummy into 4. I'll place that number on that point. Then for this vent point, which is the sleeve area, I'm going to divide my hip then add 1 and 2 inches sewing allowance to that. So I'm just going to connect all these 3 lines that I got. Next is to take the neck measurements. So the round neck for this child is 12 inches. So to get my length, which is the length for this, I'll divide the 12 inches by 4, which will give me 3 inches. That will be for the length, just as you can see me doing. So I'm just going to mark it like so. That will be the length of the neck. Then the width, I'll divide that same figure by 2, which is the 3 inches by 2. That will be my width. So I'm just going to mark it like so, 1.5. So I'm just going to mark it like so, and then I'm going to create like a square shape for the neck. So I use my ruler to create that square shape, just as you can see me doing. So I'm just going to mark it like so, then use my free hand to create like a curve at the center. So I'm just going to mark the square like so, then use my free hand to create like a curve. So now to get my round neck, I have to measure it to be sure I'm on the right path. So 12 inches divided by 2 will give you 6. So I'm just going to mark it like so, and then I'll cut it out. To cut it, I'll raise the back up, then use my hand to separate the back from the front. Do not cut the back and the front together at this point. If you do it, you've messed up the whole fabric. So make sure you raise the front up before you cut. So you just follow exactly what I'm doing in the video. So I'm just going to cut it like so. Then when I want to cut the back neckline, I'll raise the back, just as you can see me doing, and then I'll go down by 1 inches. If you cut it straight, it's not going to fit very well at the neck area. So go down by 1 inches so that it will give you like a very neat fit. So I'm just going to slant it by 1 inches, then I'll just use my free hand to create that curve, to create the new neckline for the back. So I'm just going to cut it like so. So after I'm done doing this, the next part is to focus on the armhole. So I'm just going to cut it like so. So let's focus on the armhole. Now it's for me to use my hand to cut, to create the armhole curve. So if you have your normal armhole, just use your armhole curve. If you don't have and your hand is straight, use your normal free hand curve. So I'm just going to use my free hand, and then I'll create my curve just as you can see me doing in the video. So I'm just going to curve it like so. Then after curving, I'm going to use my scissors and cut this out. So I'm just going to cut it out like so, then cut my shirt. So after cutting, now it's for us to do like the facing for the kaftan for the back. This is for the back. This one is just to create like a design at the inner facing of the back, which is not compulsory, but is necessary just to give it that design at the back area. It's not really important, but you can just do it like an additional design. So it's going to be looking like something like this. I use a different contrasting colors just to bring out the beauty of the kaftan. I'm just going to cut like so. So for this, I used just 5 inches width, 5 inches length, sorry. Then I'll trim it, then fold it inward, use my iron to hold it down. So next is to cut for the yoke. It's going to have like a yoke at the back of the kaftan. So I'm just going to place the back of the kaftan on top of the fabric like so. Then I'm going to cut it out and take it to the weaving machine and weave the back, the front, and the yoke. So this small part is called the yoke. So I'm just going to weave everything, then fix this design at the inner facing. So I'll take it to the sewing machine and weave everywhere. First of all, this is the facing. I'm just going to use iron to hold it by half an inch. Then I'll weave the armhole area. It's only the armhole area I'm going to weave. I'm not going to weave this part that I'm folding with my iron. So I'll weave everywhere, both the back and the front. So for this is for the sleeve. I'm just going to take my round sleeve measurements, then I'll use my free hand to create my sleeve. So the sleeve length is very short, which is like 13 inches 10 inches, sorry, plus 2 inches folding allowance. And I'll take my round biceps, and then I'm just going to use my free hand to connect. So I'll cut this part too, so I can take it to the weaving machine and weave. So I'm just going to cut it like so. I'll be cutting the right and the left together. So I'll cut it like so, then take it to the weaving machine and weave. So this is the yoke, the inner facing for the yoke, the design that will be at the back inner facing. And this is the sleeve, and this is the front. I've weaved everything. Nice for me to fold this inner yoke design for the back and top stitch on it after using the iron to hold it. So to fix the back and the front, I'm just going to place, this is the yoke at the up, this is the wrong side. So the wrong side of the back and the wrong side of the front will face each other. Then my yoke will be facing up. This is for us to cover the shoulder of the back and the front. This is to cover the sleeve. So I'm just going to place the 3 borders together like so, the back and the front and the yoke for the back. So remember, right side facing right side. So after covering the shoulder, you can see how it's looking, and I ironed it very well. You can see the shoulder will not be showing, the shoulder is hidden because of the facing. So this is where the zip is going to be. I'm going to be fixing the zip at the 2 sides. Remember I told you that children have big head, so we are going to be fixing invisible zip by the shoulders. The 2 shoulders is going to carry zip, so it will be easy for child to wear. So just the same way you fix your invisible zip is the same way you do this. So I'm very sure you know how to fix your invisible zip. So I'm just going to fast this part. This is where I'll fix my invisible zip on the both shoulders. So I'm just going to use my pin to hold them in place before taking it to the sewing. So this is how it's looking after I was done fixing the zip at the shoulder area on both sides, the left side and the right side of the shoulder. So this is the sleeve. So next is for me to start fixing the stoning for the design. So this is the 1 million board. I'm just going to use this thick clothes, place the stones on the board and start fixing. So I'll use my picker to start placing the one that it fits into the. So after I was done, this is how it's going to look on the transfer sheet. So next is to start placing it on the fabric, on the kaftan. So this is the front. So I'm just going to take the measurements of the width of the transfer sheet before I place it on the shirt, because the transfer sheet is longer than the shirt. So this one is for the sleeve area. So I'll cut out the excess. You can see I'll cut out the excess before I use my iron to hold it down to the fabric. So I'll take my measurements, take out 1 inch. This 1 inch I'm taking out is for the sewing allowance, because once you fix your stoning, it will be hard for you to sew the stoning using your sewing machine. So you must have hem your sleeve or your kaftan area. You must have hem and sew all those parts, because once you place this stoning to that part, it will be hard for you to sew using your sewing machine. So I took out 1 inch from it, and I'll cut out the excess. Then next is to transfer it on the shirt. So I'll do that on the shirt and also on the sleeve area. So I'm just going to use my sewing machine first of all, my iron, sorry, to hold it first before taking it to the big machine. So after that, this is how it's going to look. So you can see, easy as ABC. So that's just it, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. God bless you as you do that. See you guys in the next video. Bye.